I remember the exact moment my life split in two. The Nexus Solutions annual gala, crystal chandeliers catching light like suspended rain, the marble floor so polished you could see yourself in it. 10 years I'd stood beside Marcus at these events. 10 years of calculated smiles, of being Mrs. Harrington, of building this life. Eliza, darling, you're positively glowing tonight. Victor Chen, our CEO, kissed my cheek. His wife Sophia squeezed my arm with genuine warmth. The new marketing campaign is brilliant, Sophia said. Marcus must be proud. Where is Marcus? Victor looked around, champagne flute pausing midway to his lips. That's when I saw them. Marcus, my husband of 12 years, crossing the room with his hand resting on the small of Camille Bennett's back. Not just resting, claiming. His fingers splayed possessively against the emerald silk of her dress. She was laughing up at him, her neck arched, her body leaning into his touch with the easy familiarity of lovers. Eliza? Sophia's voice sounded distant. Are you all right? The room didn't spin. It didn't blur. Everything became sharper, clearer. I could hear individual ice cubes chiming against glass 3 tables away. Could see the single loose thread at Marcus's cuff. Could count every pearl on the necklace I'd received for our 10th anniversary. The necklace that suddenly felt like it was choking me. They hadn't seen me yet. They were in their own world, his mouth close to her ear. His wedding ring catching the light as his hand drifted lower. People were watching. People I'd worked with for 8 years. People whose respect I'd earned through countless late nights and flawless presentations. People who were now witnessing my humiliation with expressions ranging from shock to that worst of all emotions. Pity. Excuse me, I said to Victor and Sophia. My voice sounded normal, controlled, as if speaking from inside a vacuum. I crossed the room. My heels striking the marble floor. Click, 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 a metronome counting down to detonation. Marcus saw me when I was 5 feet away. I watched realization dawn on his face. Not guilt, inconvenience. Eliza, he said, his hand dropping from Camille's back. Too late, far too late, I didn't speak. I simply placed my champagne glass on a passing waiter's tray, reached up, and unclasped my pearl necklace. I held it for a moment, feeling the weight of each perfect sphere. Then I dropped it into his champagne. The pearls disappeared beneath the golden surface with barely a splash. Enjoy your evening, I said. I turned and walked away. Click, 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 the sound of my old life shattering with each step. Rain started falling as I left the hotel. Perfect. The universe delivering the appropriate soundtrack. I drove myself home. Marcus had our usual driver waiting, but I couldn't bear the thought of Evan's concerned glances in the rearview mirror, his careful silence that would somehow be worse than questions. The windshield wipers kept time with my thoughts. Back and forth, back and forth. Had I known? Had I suspected? Had I chosen not to see? There had been signs. The late meetings. The business trips that stretched longer than scheduled. The growing distance. The way he stopped meeting my eyes during conversations. The new cologne, I'd noticed it all and explained it away. Because that's what you do when you've invested 12 years in a marriage. When you have a 9-year-old daughter who adores her father. When you've built a life around the assumption of permanence. My phone lit up on the passenger seat. Marcus calling. I let it ring. 3 more calls during the 30-minute drive home. I silenced them all. I needed this time. This space between my old reality and whatever came next. The liminal moment of driving through rain-slicked streets, windshield wipers marking time, thunder rolling overhead like distant applause. Our house, a modernist statement of glass and steel and imported stone, looked like a magazine spread when I pulled into the driveway. Landscape lighting illuminated the Japanese maples we'd planted when we bought the place. The house Marcus had insisted we needed. The mortgage that kept me chained to Nexus despite better offers elsewhere. Mrs. Abernathy, our regular sitter, met me at the door with concern etched on her face. You're home early. Mrs. Harrington, is everything all right? Yes, just a headache. How's Liv? Asleep. She waited up as long as she could. Wanted to show you her science project. I paid Mrs. Abernathy, added an extra 50, and locked the door behind her. Then I stood in my perfect foyer, dripping rain onto imported marble, feeling like an intruder in my own life. Upstairs, I pushed open Liv's door. She slept the way she did everything, fully committed, limbs splayed, covers twisted. Dark hair, my hair, fanned across the pillow. Marcus's chin, Marcus's eyebrows. Our creation. The one true thing we'd made together. I sat on the edge of her bed, careful not to wake her. In the glow of her constellation nightlight, I watched her breathe. In and out. The simplest act. The most necessary. Mom? Her voice, sleep-blurred, reached through the darkness. I'm here, sweetheart. Did you see Daddy's funny dance at the party? She pushed herself up on her elbows, squinting at me through the darkness. What do you mean? He said he was going to do his funny dance tonight. The one that makes everyone laugh? My throat closed. Did he now? Mm-hmm. She was already drifting back to sleep. Said it was special. For someone? I kissed her forehead and whispered, Go back to sleep. In our bedroom, no, my bedroom now. I sat at the vanity and looked at myself in the mirror. I barely recognized the woman staring back. Designer dress chosen to complement Marcus's tux. Hair styled the way he preferred. Makeup perfect after 8 hours. The costume I'd been wearing for years. When the front door opened and closed downstairs, I didn't move. I listened to Marcus's footsteps on the stairs, heavy with purpose. Rehearsing his excuses, he paused in the doorway. Eliza, I didn't turn. I watched him in the mirror instead. This stranger I'd shared a bed with for 12 years. What the hell was that about? He asked, his voice tight with controlled anger, as if I were the transgressor. I unclasped my earrings, diamonds, another anniversary gift, and placed them carefully in their velvet box. I believe that's my question. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Do you have any idea? Oh, was it just tonight? I interrupted. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Too calm. Or has it been going on a while? He ran a hand through his hair. This is ridiculous. I don't have to— Yes, Marcus. You do. I finally turned to face him. You do have to explain why you were parading your mistress around in front of our colleagues. In front of our friends. You do have to explain why our daughter thinks you were planning to do a funny dance for someone special tonight. The color drained from his face. You talked to Liv about this? She talked to me. I stood up, suddenly too restless to remain seated. She's 9 years old, Marcus. 9. And even she noticed something was happening. He sank onto the edge of the bed. Our bed. The sheets I'd changed just yesterday. It's not what you think. 4 words. The most predictable response in the history of infidelity. I almost laughed. It's exactly what I think. I moved to the closet, our shared closet, and pulled out his Rimowa suitcase. The expensive one I'd given him for his birthday last year. Here, you'll need this. What are you doing? Helping you pack. I tossed the suitcase onto the bed beside him. Unless you'd prefer to stay at Camille's without a change of clothes. Eliza, be reasonable. We need to talk about this like adults. We are talking. I'm telling you to leave. He stood then, drawing himself up to his full height, using the same intimidation tactics he deployed in boardrooms. This is my house too. You can't just throw me out. Actually, I can. I walked to the bedroom door. You have 2 choices. Leave now quietly without waking our daughter. Or stay, and I'll wake Liv up to say goodbye to Daddy. Your call, it was a bluff. I would never drag Liv into this. But Marcus didn't know that. He stared at me, this woman he no longer recognized. This woman who had finally, after a decade of compromise, found her spine. I'll get my things, he said finally. I nodded and walked out. Morning arrived with insulting brightness. Sunlight streaming through windows we'd specifically designed to capture the eastern light. Birds chirping in the Japanese maples. The world continuing as if nothing had happened. I hadn't slept. After Marcus left, a hasty packing job followed by a tense promise to figure this out tomorrow, I'd sat in the armchair by our bedroom window until dawn broke. Watching. thinking, planning. Mom. Mom, look what I made! Liv burst into the kitchen, science project in hand, her face alight with the particular joy of a child who has created something wonderful. A model of the solar system, planets hanging from carefully measured strings, each one hand-painted. It's gorgeous, sweetheart. I examined each planet, making appropriate sounds of admiration. You did this all yourself? Mrs. Abernathy helped with the hot glue gun. She twirled the model, making the planets dance. Where's Daddy? I want to show him too. The question I'd been dreading. I set my coffee mug down carefully. Daddy had to go on a business trip. Last minute. Her face fell. But he promised to come to science fair today. I know, honey. He's really sorry. The first of many broken promises she would have to absorb. I'll be there, though. Front row. She nodded, resilient in that way children are, accepting disappointment and moving on. A skill I needed to relearn. After dropping Liv at school, smiling and waving at the other mothers as if my world hadn't imploded, I sat in my car and made a list. Old-fashioned pen and paper. Things that needed to be done. Call Renee, check finances. Find a lawyer. Tell work. Tell Livy stared at the last item. How do you tell a child that her family is breaking apart? That her father had chosen someone else over us? That nothing would ever be the same? I folded the list and put it in my purse. One step at a time. That motherfucking asshole. Renee Wallace had been my best friend since college. She didn't believe in mincing words. In front of everyone, she continued, outrage making her voice carry across the cafe. Several heads turned. With his hand on her ass? Lower back, I corrected, though the distinction hardly mattered. Same difference. She reached across the table and gripped my hand. Her nails, short, practical, unpolished, pressed into my skin. Are you okay? What am I saying? Of course you're not okay. What was I? Angry? Devastated? Numb? I don't know what I am. You're in shock. Renee signaled the waiter for another round of coffees. And you need a lawyer. A shark. That's actually why I called you. Renee worked for Simmons & Geary, one of the top law firms in the city. She wasn't a lawyer herself. She ran their marketing department. But she knew everyone. Catherine Donovan, Renee said without hesitation. Best divorce attorney in 3 states. Takes no prisoners. I didn't say I wanted a divorce. Renee's eyebrows shot up. Please tell me you're not considering forgiveness. Not after that public display. I traced the rim of my coffee cup with one finger. It's not that simple. There's Liv to think about. And my job? We work for the same company, remember? All the more reason to protect yourself. Marcus will try to control the narrative. You need to be 3 steps ahead. She was right. Marcus wouldn't go quietly. He would spin this, minimize it, make me look hysterical or unreasonable. It was what he did, reshape reality to suit his needs. I don't even know what I want yet, I admitted. Yes, you do. Renee's voice softened. You want what everyone wants, dignity, security, a fair shot at happiness. I nodded, feeling tears threaten for the first time. And I want him to pay. Renee smiled, the kind of smile that reminded me why we'd been friends for 20 years. Now we're talking. Our home office, once a shared space, now my war room. I'd called in sick to work, something I'd done maybe 3 times in 8 years. Marcus, according to his assistant's carefully neutral tone when I called, was working from home today. Camille's home, presumably. I spread our financial records across the desk. Joint checking account, joint savings, investment portfolios, retirement accounts, mortgage statements, credit card bills. Marcus had always handled our finances. You're too busy with work and live, he'd say. Let me take care of this. And I'd let him, grateful for one less thing on my plate. Stupid. So stupid. 3 hours of digging revealed the first discrepancy. A credit card I didn't know about. Statements sent to his office, not our home. Charges at restaurants I'd never been to. Hotel rooms in our own city. A jewelry store where I'd never received gifts from. receipts for weekend getaways when he was supposedly at conferences, first-class upgrades for 2 when he traveled, a recurring charge for an apartment downtown, not in his name but paid for with his hidden card. I photographed everything. Then I called our bank. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Harrington, but I can't make those changes without your husband's authorization. I'm a joint account holder." "Yes, but there are special instructions on the account." "What special instructions?" A pause. "I'm not at liberty to say." I hung up, hands shaking. He'd locked me out. Somehow he'd arranged it so I couldn't access our money without his permission. How long had he been planning this? Next call, American Express. "I'd like to report my card stolen." "Certainly, Mrs. Harrington. We'll cancel that right away and issue a new one." "Actually, I need to cancel 2 cards. Mine and my husband's. I see both cards on your account." "We'll cancel both and send replacements. Please send mine to my office address." Not my home. 2 could play at this game. By evening, I'd frozen our joint credit cards, opened a new checking account in my name only, and transferred my next paycheck's direct deposit. Small moves on a large chessboard, but it was a start. The last call was to Catherine Donovan's office. The receptionist's voice was professional, efficient. "Ms. Donovan has an opening tomorrow at 2. Will that work?" "Yes," I said. "That will work perfectly." And the princess realized she didn't need the prince after all. She could save herself, Liv yawned, her eyelids drooping. But what about the dragon? "She tamed it," I improvised. Turned out the dragon was just misunderstood. Like in How to Train Your Dragon. Liv smiled sleepily. Exactly like that. I smoothed her hair back from her forehead. "Time to sleep, sweetheart. When's Daddy coming home?" "It's been 3 days." My heart twisted. "I'm not sure, honey. He's very busy with work. But he hasn't even called me." Her lower lip trembled. "Did I do something wrong?" "No." My voice came out sharper than I intended. I softened it. "No, baby. You didn't do anything wrong. Daddy's just figuring some things out right now." "Grown-up things?" "Yes, grown-up things." She considered this, her 9-year-old mind processing in ways I couldn't fathom. "Is it like when Emma's parents got a divorce?" "Her dad lives in a different house now." The question hit me like a physical blow. How did she know? Had she overheard something? Or was this just the intuition children have? The ability to sense fault lines beneath the surface of family life. "We don't know what's going to happen yet," I said carefully. "But no matter what, Daddy and I both love you very much." "That will never change." She nodded, accepting this for now. "Will you stay until I fall asleep?" "Of course." I sat beside her bed, watching as her breathing deepened and slowed. In the glow of her nightlight, she looked impossibly young, impossibly vulnerable. I'd brought her into this world, promising to protect her. Now I had to figure out how to protect her from the fallout of her father's choices, and mine. When I was certain she was asleep, I leaned down and whispered, "I'm going to fix this. Liv, I promise." Catherine Donovan didn't look like a shark. She looked like someone's elegant grandmother. Silver hair in a neat bob, pearl earrings, reading glasses on a chain. Her office was understated, comfortable. Books on shelves, degrees on walls, a single photograph of 2 smiling children. "Tell me everything," she said after we shook hands. "And don't leave anything out. I need to know what I'm working with." I told her about the gala. About Camille. About the financial discoveries. About Marcus's absence since that night. His 2 brief texts. "We need to talk, and this isn't what you think," and nothing more. Catherine listened without interruption, occasionally making notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she removed her glasses and looked at me directly. "What do you want, Eliza?" The question caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" "I mean exactly that. What do you want? Do you want to save your marriage? Punish your husband? Protect your assets? Secure your daughter's future? All of the above? None of the above? I need to know your endgame." I hadn't allowed myself to think that far ahead. I'd been operating on instinct, on anger, on the driving need to not be blindsided again. I want I paused, searching for the truth beneath the hurt. I want what's fair. I want to protect Liv. I want to make sure Marcus doesn't walk away from 12 years like they meant nothing. Catherine nodded. That's a start. Now let's get specific. For the next hour, she outlined strategies. Documentation needed. Timeline of events. Custody arrangements. Division of assets. The legal landscape of betrayal mapped out in clinical detail. What about my job? I asked. We work for the same company. That complicates things, Catherine admitted. But it also gives you leverage. A company that size won't want this mess affecting their operations. Marcus is more valuable to them than I am. Are you sure about that? Catherine tapped her pen against the legal pad. Your marketing campaigns increased their revenue by what percentage last year? 18%. And you have documentation of that? Of course. Then you have value. Quantifiable value, she smiled. A small, precise movement. And Marcus has a problem. A problem that was witnessed by your CEO and numerous colleagues. For the first time since the gala, I felt something like hope. Not happiness. That was still too distant a prospect. But the possibility that I might emerge from this with something intact. My dignity, my future, my daughter's security. One more thing, Catherine said as I gathered my purse to leave. Change the locks on your house today. 3 days after the gala, the digital aftershocks began. First came the sympathetic texts. Friends and colleagues checking in with carefully worded concern. Hey, missed you at work. Everything okay? Thinking of you. Call if you need anything. Girl, what the hell happened at the gala? Everyone's talking, then the social media shift. My feed, once filled with benign updates from distant acquaintances, became a minefield. Camille Bennett changing her relationship status. Marcus untagging himself from our family photos. Mutual friends caught in the uncomfortable middle, their allegiances silently declared through likes and comments. I sat at my kitchen island, scrolling through the digital ruins of my marriage, a glass of wine beside my laptop. Outside, rain lashed against the windows. A proper storm this time, not the gentle shower of gala night. A new email notification appeared. From Marcus, we need to talk about arrangements. I'll be by tomorrow to pick up more of my things. 2 p.m., no mention of Liv. No mention of the upcoming parent-teacher conference we'd marked on the calendar months ago. Just arrangements and a unilateral decision about timing. I typed a response, deleted it, typed again. Tomorrow doesn't work. Liv has a dental appointment. Thursday, 6 p.m., and we'll need to discuss your plans for the science fair this weekend. His reply came suspiciously fast. Fine. Thursday. I've already told Liv I can't make the science fair. A work commitment. My fingers tightened around my phone. Work commitment. The same excuse he'd used countless times over the years. The excuse I'd relayed to Liv, watching her face fall but recover. Her resilience, a gift I now recognized as hard-earned through repeated disappointments. Another text alert. Renee, you're trending on the company Slack channels. Marcus is telling people you kicked him out over a misunderstanding. Want me to set the record straight? I stared at her message, weighing options. The impulse to correct the narrative was strong. To ensure everyone knew I was the wronged party, not the unreasonable shrew Marcus was no doubt painting me to be. But what would that accomplish? A momentary satisfaction followed by an escalation of office politics I didn't have the energy to navigate. No, I replied. Let him dig his own grave. I closed my laptop, silencing the digital echoes of my unraveling life. In the sudden quiet, I could hear the house settling, creaks and sighs as the structure adjusted to the storm outside, to the absence of one of its occupants. I moved through the rooms, touching surfaces, the kitchen counter where we'd prepared Sunday breakfasts, the living room sofa where we'd watched movies with Liv between us, the foyer table where we'd dropped keys and mail, and the everyday detritus of shared life. In our bedroom, my bedroom, I opened his closet. Half empty now, the spaces where his suits had hung like missing teeth in a smile. I ran my hand along the remaining garments. The tux he'd worn to the gala. The sweater I'd given him last Christmas. The old Stanford sweatshirt from his college days. I pulled the sweatshirt from its hanger and held it to my face. It still smelled like him, like us. Like the early days when love felt uncomplicated and permanent. For the first time since the gala, I allowed myself to cry. Not delicate tears, not dignified weeping, but ugly, wrenching sobs that bent me double. Grief for what was lost. Rage for what was taken. Fear for what lay ahead. I cried until there was nothing left. Until I was empty. Hollowed out. And in that emptiness, I found something unexpected. Clarity. I wiped my face, returned the sweatshirt to its hanger, and went to my desk. I had work to do. Thursday arrived with perfect October clarity. Sunlight streaming through windows, leaves turning gold and crimson on the Japanese maples, the world continuing its indifferent beauty. Marcus arrived at 6:05 p.m., just late enough to establish that he was doing this on his terms. I'd sent Liv to my mother's for the night, a sleepover disguised as grandmother time. When I opened the door, he was standing on our porch, our perfect porch with its architectural lighting and slate tiles imported from Vermont, looking simultaneously familiar and foreign. Same face, same body, same cologne. Different person, Eliza. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. "Where's Liv?" "At my mother's." I closed the door behind him. "I thought it would be better if we talked alone first." He nodded, moving into the living room with the confident stride of someone who still considered this space his territory. He looked around, noting the subtle changes. His books removed from the coffee table, his whiskey decanter missing from the bar cart, family photos rearranged to exclude him. "You've been busy," he said, a slight edge to his voice. "So have you." I remained standing while he sat on the sofa. Our sofa. "Quite the story you've been telling at work." He had the grace to look uncomfortable. "I haven't said anything that isn't true." "Really? A misunderstanding? That's what you call parading your mistress around in front of our colleagues?" "She's not my mistress. What is she then? Your girlfriend? Your soulmate? The love of your life? Please enlighten me." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made my chest ache. "It's complicated. No, Marcus. It's actually very simple. You cheated. You lied. You humiliated me. And now you want to pretend you're the victim because I had the audacity to react. I never said I was the victim. You didn't have to. Your selective storytelling does that for you." He stood then, crossing to the bar cart as if to pour a drink, then remembering his decanter was gone. The small disruption to his script gave me a moment of savage satisfaction. "Look," he said, turning to face me. "I didn't come here to fight. What did you come for then?" "To discuss arrangements, like I said. We need to figure this out like adults." "Like adults," I repeated. Interesting choice of words from someone who's been acting like a teenager sneaking around behind his parents' back. His jaw tightened. "That's not fair." "Fair?" The word unlocked something in me, a door I'd kept firmly closed since the gala. "You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I've spent 12 years supporting your career? That I turned down the Hong Kong position so you could take the VP role here? That I've been both parents to Liv while you've been building your reputation, and apparently your side relationship? That's not... Is it fair?" I continued, my voice rising despite my determination to stay calm. "That you've been maintaining an apartment for God knows how long on our joint credit card? That you put restrictions on our bank accounts without telling me? That you're making me explain to our daughter why her father suddenly doesn't live at home anymore?" He had the decency to look ashamed, at least about the last part. "I never meant to hurt Liv, but you meant to hurt me?" "No." He moved toward me, stopping when I took a step back. "I didn't plan any of this. It just happened. The most predictable excuse in the history of infidelity. Again, things don't just happen, Marcus. You made choices. Every day, every time you lied about where you were going, every time you slept with her, you made a choice." "I know." He sank back onto the sofa. "I know that. And I'm sorry. Sorry you did it? Or sorry you got caught?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. "Here's how this is going to work," I said, my voice steadier now. You'll continue paying the mortgage and household expenses. You'll maintain Liv's routine as much as possible, which means showing up when you say you will. You'll communicate with me about schedules and arrangements through email, not text. And you will not bring Camille anywhere near my daughter until we've had proper counseling to prepare her. He looked up, surprise evident on his face. You've thought this through. One of us had to. And what about? He gestured vaguely between us. Us? There is no us anymore, Marcus. You made sure of that the moment you put your hand on Camille Bennett's back in front of everyone we know. He flinched. Good. I still think we could… Don't. I held up a hand. Don't insult me by suggesting we can fix this. Some things can't be fixed. He nodded slowly, accepting this reality perhaps for the first time. I'll get my things. Your clothes are packed in the guest room. Take what you need tonight. We can arrange for the rest later. He stood, moved toward the stairs, then paused. For what it's worth, I did love you. I still do, in my way. I looked at him. This man I'd shared a bed with, built a life with, created a child with, and felt nothing but tired. Your way isn't enough anymore, I said. It never was. Liv's solar system hung suspended from the science fair display table, planets rotating gently in the air current from the gymnasium door opening and closing. She stood beside it, explaining the relative distances and sizes to the judges, her voice clear and confident. I watched from a few feet away, pride momentarily overshadowing everything else. She was resilient, my daughter. Adaptable in ways I was only beginning to learn. Mrs. Harrington? I turned to find Victor Chen, my CEO, my boss, witness to my public humiliation, standing beside me. Mr. Chen, I didn't expect to see you here. My nephew's in Liv's class. He nodded toward a boy with a volcano project. Standard fare, I'm afraid. Your daughter's project is much more impressive. Thank you. I kept my eyes on Liv, uncertain where this conversation was heading. I've missed you at the office, he said carefully. When will you be coming back? Monday. I just needed a few days. Of course. He cleared his throat. Eliza, I want you to know that your position at Nexus is secure. Whatever happens with other matters. I looked at him then, searching his face for the truth behind the reassurance. I appreciate that. You're valuable to us. Your work speaks for itself. The judges moved on from Liv's display. She turned, scanning the crowd, her face lighting up when she saw me. Then her expression shifted, fell, as she registered the absence of her father. Again. Excuse me, I said to Victor, already moving toward Liv. My daughter needs me. I reached her just as the first tears threatened to spill. You were amazing, sweetheart, he promised. Her voice was small, wounded. He said he'd try to make it. I know. I knelt to her level, my hands on her shoulders. I'm sorry. Is he ever coming back home? The question I'd been dreading. The truth I'd been avoiding. No, sweetheart. He's not. But that doesn't mean he doesn't love you. Then why isn't he here? I had no answer that would make sense to a 9-year-old. No explanation that wouldn't either demonize her father or introduce concepts she wasn't ready to understand. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, I said finally. Big mistakes that change everything. But the one thing that will never change is how much we both love you. She looked at me. Her eyes so like mine, searching my face for the complete truth she sensed I was withholding. Emma's dad still comes to her. Stuff even though they got divorced, she said. And your dad will come to your stuff too. He's just figuring things out right now. She nodded, accepting this for the moment. Can we get ice cream? Absolutely. As we walked out of the gymnasium, hand in hand, I spotted Marcus in the parking lot. He was standing beside his car, watching us. Too late to see Liv's presentation. Too late to spare her the disappointment. Just too late. I lifted my chin, straightened my spine, and guided Liv toward my car without acknowledging him. Let him see what he was missing. Let him feel what it meant to be on the outside looking in. Before we begin, the mediator said, I want to remind everyone that the purpose of this session is to reach an amicable agreement regarding division of assets and custody arrangements. Amicable. The word hung in the air between Marcus and me like an impossible proposition. Catherine Donovan sat beside me, poised and prepared. Across the table, Marcus's lawyer, James Whitmore, known for representing high-profile men in contentious divorces, arranged papers with deliberate precision. "My client is prepared to be generous," Whitmore began, his voice a practiced blend of reasonable and patronizing. "He's offering the house, continued support for his daughter, and a fair division of their joint assets." Catherine smiled, the small, precise movement I'd come to recognize as her battle face. "My client appreciates Mr. Harrington's generosity. However, we have some concerns about what constitutes fair in this context." She slid a folder across the table. Inside, documentation of Marcus's hidden credit card, the downtown apartment lease, bank statements showing substantial withdrawals coinciding with jewelry purchases that had never made their way to me. "We'd also like to discuss the company stock options." Catherine continued while Marcus and Whitmore examined the documents. "Specifically the ones granted during the marriage as part of Mr. Harrington's compensation package." Marcus's head snapped up. "Those are tied to my employment." "Earned during the marriage," Catherine corrected, "and therefore marital property under state law." Whitmore leaned in to whisper something to Marcus, who shook his head vehemently. "We're prepared to be reasonable about this," Catherine continued. "Mrs. Harrington has no desire to drag this out, but she does expect fair compensation for 12 years of supporting Mr. Harrington's career, often at the expense of her own opportunities." "That's not true," Marcus interjected. "Eliza's career has flourished. Despite, not because of your actions," I said, breaking my silence for the first time. "Or have you forgotten about Hong Kong?" His expression confirmed he had indeed forgotten, or chosen to forget, the job offer I'd turned down 3 years ago. A director position at an international firm, a significant step up from my role at Nexus. An opportunity I'd declined because Marcus had just been promoted and Liv was settling into a new school. "That was your choice," he said, but the conviction had drained from his voice. "A choice made for our family." I met his eyes across the table. "For a family you've now decided to discard." "I haven't discarded Liv. I would never—" "You missed her science fair," I interrupted. "You promised you'd be there, and you showed up after it was over. You've missed 2 weekends with her already, so please spare me the devoted father act." The mediator cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should take a break." "No," Marcus said. "I want to get this resolved." He turned to his lawyer. "What are they asking for?" Whitmore leaned in again, whispering urgently. Marcus listened, his face hardening, then softening as the conversation continued. Finally, he nodded. "Fine," he said. "The house. Half the stock options. Monthly support. But I want joint custody." "Supervised visitation for 3 months," Catherine countered. "Then we revisit the arrangement based on consistency and commitment." "Supervised?" Marcus's voice rose. "She's my daughter, whom you've seen exactly 3 times in the month since you moved out," I said. "Actions have consequences, Marcus. Even yours." The negotiation continued for another 2 hours. Terms revised, compromises made, a framework for the dissolution of our marriage sketched out in legal language and financial calculations. When it was over, not truly over, but the first stage complete, I felt hollowed out again, empty. But not in the devastated way of that night alone in our bedroom. This was a different kind of emptiness, a cleared space, room for something new to grow. "That's the last of it," Renee said, setting down a box labeled kitchen in my new living room. "Though why you insisted on packing everything yourself is beyond me." I looked around the apartment, smaller than our house, but with high ceilings and tall windows that flooded the space with light. 2 bedrooms instead of 4. No imported stone. No Japanese maples, but mine. All mine. I needed to touch everything, I explained, to decide what was worth keeping. Part of the settlement, Marcus would buy out my share of the house. I would start fresh. A clean break, Catherine had called it. Necessary for moving forward. Liv was with Marcus for the weekend, their first overnight visit without supervision after 3 months of rebuilding trust. She'd been excited about the arrangement, eager to show him her new school project, to sleep in the guest room of his new condo that he'd decorated just for her. I'd stood in the doorway of our old house, watching as he helped her with her backpack, both of them chatting easily. The familiar pang of loss mingled with something new, relief that she could still have this relationship, that the broken pieces of our family were finding new arrangements that might, someday, feel normal. Earth to Eliza. Renee waved a hand in front of my face. Where'd you go? Sorry, just thinking. Dangerous activity. Here. She pressed a glass of wine into my hand. To new beginnings. We clinked glasses, the sound echoing in the half-empty space. Have you heard from Victor about the promotion? Renee asked, settling onto the only piece of furniture in the living room. A new sofa, chosen by me alone. Interviews next week. I sipped my wine. It's between me and Terrence from the West Coast office. The director of marketing position had opened up unexpectedly when Janet Reynolds announced her retirement. 2 months ago, I wouldn't have considered applying. Too much upheaval, too much uncertainty. But now, you'll get it, Renee said with characteristic confidence. Your campaign numbers were better than his last quarter. We'll see. My phone buzzed with a text. Marcus Liv wants to know if she can bring her telescope tonight. Says you packed it already, I texted back. East hallway closet, top shelf. Blue case, his reply came quickly. Found it. Thanks. Simple, functional, co-parenting without drama. We were learning. Renee watched me, her expression a mixture of concern and curiosity. You okay? I think I am, I said, surprising myself with the truth of it. Not perfect. Not whole yet. But okay, she nodded, understanding. It gets better, you know. My mom always said the first year is the hardest. Renee's parents had divorced when she was 12. Her perspective had been invaluable these past months, both the professional connections and the personal insights. Your mom was a wise woman. Still is, Renee corrected. She's dating a surfer now. At 67, I laughed. A real laugh, unforced and unguarded. Good for her. Good for you, Renee countered, raising her glass again. For surviving. For thriving. Am I thriving? It doesn't feel like it some days. Are you kidding? New place? Potential promotion. Killer settlement? And... She gestured at me with her wine glass. Have you seen yourself lately? You're glowing. I hadn't noticed, but maybe she was right. The woman in my mirror these days looked different. Lighter, more present. The costume shed, revealing someone I was still getting to know. It wasn't the ending I planned, I admitted. But maybe it's the beginning I needed. The Nexus Solutions annual gala, 1 year later, almost to the day. Same hotel, same chandeliers catching light like suspended rain. Same marble floor, polished to reflection, different woman walking across it. My dress, midnight blue instead of the safe black I'd worn for years, moved with me as I navigated the crowd. Colleagues stopped me to chat, to congratulate me on the promotion, to comment on the new marketing direction I'd implemented in my first 3 months as director. Eliza, darling, you're positively glowing tonight. Victor Chen kissed my cheek. His wife Sophia squeezed my arm with genuine warmth. The new campaign is brilliant, Sophia said. The board is thrilled with the numbers. Thank you. I accepted a champagne flute from a passing waiter. It's been an interesting year. An understatement of epic proportions, but sufficient for this setting. Across the room, I spotted Marcus. He was speaking with a group of executives, his posture relaxed, confident. No Camille beside him. That relationship had imploded 2 months after our divorce was finalized, a fact I'd absorbed with neither joy nor sorrow, just a detached sense of inevitability. He saw me looking and nodded, a small acknowledgement of our shared history, our ongoing connection through Liv, our careful navigation of professional spaces we both still occupied. I nodded back, then deliberately turned away. Not in anger or avoidance, but in choice, in the freedom to direct my attention elsewhere. Eliza. A new voice, Warm, male, unfamiliar. I don't believe we've met. I'm Daniel Mercer, new VP of International Markets. I turned to find a man extending his hand, tall, gray at the temples. Eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. Eliza Harrington, Marketing Director. I know. His handshake was firm, brief. Your reputation precedes you. The campaign for the European expansion was inspired. Thank you. It was a team effort, not according to my sources. He smiled again, a genuine smile, not the practiced corporate version. They say you're the visionary behind it. I felt something unexpected, a flutter of interest, a spark of possibility. Not romance necessarily. Not yet, but potential. A door cracked open to something I hadn't been looking for. Your sources are very kind, I said, returning his smile, but also possibly biased. Have you met our CEO yet? I guided him toward Victor and Sophia, conscious of Marcus watching from across the room. Let him watch. Let him see me moving forward, living, thriving, as Renee had said. Later, as the evening wound down, I stepped onto the hotel terrace for a moment alone. The night air was cool against my skin, carrying the scent of the hotel gardens below. Stars scattered across the October sky like distant chandeliers. 1 year ago, on a night like this, my world had exploded. The detonation had been painful, devastating. But from the rubble, I'd built something new. Something stronger. Something mine. I touched the pendant at my neck. Not pearls. Never pearls again. A single perfect sapphire, a gift to myself to mark the anniversary of my rebirth. Mom? I turned to find Liv in the doorway, elegant in the simple dress we'd chosen together for her first attendance at a grown-up party. At 10, she was on the cusp of adolescence. Still my baby, but increasingly her own person. Hey, sweetheart. Having fun? She shrugged, coming to stand beside me at the railing. It's okay. Dad says we can leave soon for ice cream. That sounds perfect. She looked up at me, her expression serious in the starlight. Are you okay? Being here again? The question took me by surprise. How much did she understand about what had happened last year? How much had she pieced together from overheard conversations, from the undercurrents of adult interactions? I am, I said, putting an arm around her shoulders. Better than okay, actually, she nodded, accepting this. You look pretty in that dress. Blue is better than black. I think so too. We stood together, watching the stars, the comfortable silence between us a testament to the new equilibrium we'd found. Different from before, harder won, but real. Inside, the music changed to something livelier. Laughter spilled through the open doors. Life continuing, evolving, surprising. Ready to go back in? I asked. Liv nodded, slipping her hand into mine. We walked together through the doorway, back into the light, back into the future. Uncertain but unafraid, wounded but healing, changed but whole.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.